Hello everyone, it's Kareem with you again, your English teacher. In a previous episode, we learned what phrasal verbs are. We looked at some examples of formal and informal phrasal verbs. And just to remind you, we said that a phrasal verb is basically a verb that is accompanied by a particle, sometimes two particles. Now, a particle can be either an adverb or a preposition. Now, this is a brief introduction about what phrasal verbs are because today I will talk about phrasal verbs again. But this time, in this episode, I will give you 8 phrasal verbs that you can use in school. So, if you're ready, let's get started. Now, the first phrasal verb for today is put through. Now, as you can see, put through is a phrasal verb that has a verb and one particle. And this particle, in this case, is a preposition, although the word through can be an adverb in other contexts. Now, this phrasal verb, put through, has different meanings according to different contexts, like many other phrasal verbs. In a school context, put through means to pay for one's child to attend college. Let's have an example. His father is very rich. He can put him through college. Now, as you can see in the example, we have put through. We have used put through to mean that since his father is very rich, like his father has a lot of money, he can afford sending him to college, or he can just pay for him to be a student at college. The second phrasal verb for today is sail through. Now, this phrasal verb is used in informal contexts, and it doesn't mean that you take a boat and sail at sea, of course. Sail through is a phrasal verb that we use to describe a situation in which you can do something easily, especially a test, since we're talking about school. So let's have an example. Jim is a genius. He can just sail through his exams without even preparing for them. Now, this example means that even if Jim doesn't study for his exams, he can pass them easily. The third phrasal verb is major in. Now, to major in something means to specialize in a particular subject at college or university, for example. In other words, you study something as your main subject. The fourth phrasal verb is leave behind. Now, this phrasal verb means to make much progress or more progress than the others. Let's have an example. Susie is a genius. She worked so hard that she left all the other students behind. What does that mean? It means that because she is a hard-working person and she's a genius, she made more progress than the others. She progressed faster than the others, which means she left them behind. The fifth phrasal verb is cream off. Now, this phrasal verb is used when we want to describe a situation in which a teacher chooses the best students, or let me say the cleverest students in a class, and separates them from the other students and treats them differently. Let's have an example. By the end of the first term, the teacher creamed off the best students and moved them up to the next class. What does that mean? It means that by the end of the first term, the teacher was able to identify the cleverest and the best students in class so that he or she can separate them and treat them in a different way, maybe teach them in a different way. The sixth phrasal verb is mark down. This phrasal verb is used to describe or to talk about situations in which we are dealing with the student's marks, especially low marks. Now, what does that mean? If a student is marked down, it means that this student gets a low mark. Let's have an example. Because of his careless mistakes in his article, he was marked down. This sentence means that the student made mistakes, careless mistakes, in his article, which resulted in him receiving low marks. The seventh phrasal verb is fall behind. Now, this phrasal verb has different meanings according to different contexts again. But in a school context, it means to fail, to keep up with the other students. Or, in other words, we can say to fail to remain level with them. Let's have an example to understand this. Because Sam was careless about English throughout the year, he fell behind quite dramatically. Now, this example means that because he was careless, he didn't study, he didn't prepare for English throughout the year, he failed to make as much progress as the others. He failed to keep up with them. In other words, they made much or more progress than he did. The eighth and last phrasal verb for today is scrape through. Now, this phrasal verb is used to describe a situation in which students pass their exams with a lot of difficulty, which means there are no impressive marks, it's just passing. Let's have an example. I think John will just scrape through the entrance exam, which means he will pass the entrance exam, but with a lot of difficulty and no impressive marks. So, we have learnt 8 phrasal verbs today, formal and informal, that we can use in school to talk about more able students, less able students, exams and marks. So, I hope you have learned something new and enjoyed the lesson. I'll see you again. Thank you very much.